Okay, you know I love this show.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
I do indeed. Yes,
But
I
I
do.
want to know, this is what I've been thinking about since the finale. Okay? How do you think Boyd is going to feel when he finds out, after he killed that monster, that that thing came back?
Oh, I know how he's going to feel. He's not going to be happy about it, and he's going to be real confused and probably looking to figure out how to do it again. So, like, they got to get out. Once we see Smiley come back, it's time to go. We got to figure out how to get out of there. That's it.
Yeah. What was the thing that like surprised you the most this season? Would it be him coming back, or I feel like everyone went through it.
Jim was a big surprise.
Yeah.
That was a giant surprise. I did not see that coming. The Man in Yellow, after seeing, like, once I went back and looked at all the early paintings and stuff like that, and the Man in Yellow has been there the whole time, that was a big surprise. What else?
There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of stuff.
Tabitha leaving and then coming back.
Tabitha and, but the two of them showing up at the same time.
Yeah.
Tabitha and what's his name?
Henry?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I know who you're talking about.
Yes, exactly.
I know exactly who you're talking
Exactly.
about. Yes. I'm like, she came back with Henry, but yes.
No. Tabitha and Jade.
Jade, yes.
Yes, that whole thing is really Peaches said at the beginning, he's like, that's never happened before. Two people showed up at the same time. And maybe that's kind of his dad. So much.
It's insane.
It's insanity.
But that's what I love about it, because it's so good. It feels like unique. Like we've never seen a show like this before.
Right. And I think just John is brilliant. I don't know what's going on in his brain. I don't know what he's got planned, but I think he's brilliant. I think it's great. And so I can't wait to find out what's happening next season. So as soon as we get back, we'll get some more more answers.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. So glad it got picked up. I was like, I'm going to riot if there's not another season.
Right on. Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to riot if we don't get, to the finale of whatever's happening.
I
here.
know. We need answers.
Yeah. You and I are going to go get pitchforks and the whole thing. If
I'll make
it doesn't,
signs.
exactly.
I got it. I'm in. I'm right there with you.
Let's do it.
I do want to know, you personally, would you rather be stuck on the Lost Island or in this town?
Lost.
That was a quick answer.
There's a beach. There's beautiful stuff. We've got caves. You see how the winter was? It was terrible.
That's true.
I don't want to, no. I want to go to the beach.
I got to tell you, I've been rewatching Lost. So my girls are 12 and 13, and we've been watching it. Yeah. And I'm looking at it, and I'm like, this man doesn't age. You look exactly, you maybe even look younger than you look.
Well, I do drink blood of some young people. No, when I look at me, I see the age difference. Some people don't, but I look at me every day, and I'm like, oh, he's getting up there.
We're all like that, right?
He's getting up there.
Stop. But what does it mean to you that there's a new generation here discovering Lost?
That is actually quite exciting, because I remember when we were doing Lost, and we were all like, it's that really weird thing it's hard to say, right? Because we were going like, is this some of the best TV you guys have ever seen? That's how it felt for us, when we were watching it. But it's hard to say that, because people are like, you're so stuck up. But that's how we felt. And so I'm really glad that, not only was it great during our time, that there's a whole new generation of people who are like, oh my God, this is amazing. And so I'm really glad that I think our instincts were all really, really right, that it was really cool. It was really groundbreaking at the time. It was just the way of telling stories we hadn't seen on television yet. And so, yeah. And then from doing that to this.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But this feels like it's going to be the same sort of thing. I think this is going to stick around for generations.
I think it will. And I think, we're putting in all the work. We got the great Jack Bender, who's there directing all those episodes, and Jeff Pinkner, who really knows how to write that. And now John Griffin. It's just a phenomenal group of creators. And so let's see how many generations of people.
Yes.
Hey, did you guys see From? I was really young, man.
I love it.
See if that comes up.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations on everything, and good luck this award season. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
I love this show so much. It feels like Tabitha's kind of been through it this season. What was the most surprising for you when you read the script?
Season 3 is very surprising. There's a lot of surprises, and I'm very happy for it, because people were as shocked as I was when I was reading the script. So for me to be actually doing it, it's like, I can't believe that they thought of this. And now it's such a big twist for their character. It was really good. So I'm really excited to start shooting season 4, because what's going to happen?
I know. Have you seen any scripts yet?
No. They don't show us anything.
They tell you day of, this is what you're
Yeah,
doing.
they're like, well, your character is going to die.
I mean, they killed Jim. That was nuts.
I know.
Is it going to be weird for you, do you think, coming back without him?
Nobody knew that was happening. Like, I didn't know that he was dying. Maybe he did at the beginning, but I didn't know. And so when I read the script, that's when I knew that he was dying.
Oh, no.
Like, there was no, like, gathering, tell us, okay, so your husband is going to die. Like, there was nothing. It was a shock.
How do you think Tabitha's going to handle this?
Oh, it's going to be horrible. It's going to be so sad. She lost a child. Now she lost a husband. Now she's alone with the kids in that crazy world. I don't know. It's going to be intense.
What do you hope for her this season?
I don't know. I hope she has some sort of peace with herself, because I think she's going to blame herself for some reason. That's what she's going to do, probably. I want her to take a little bit of that weight out of her shoulders and think a little bit, just concentrate on kids and just lay low for a second, because she's been through the ringer.
Yeah. She got to leave and then came back so fast.
I know. Listen, I was hoping I was out for a little bit more because the town is boring. So when they brought me back so early, I was a little bit disappointed for sure.
It worked out, though, because you needed to be back to bring Henry back and have that whole stuff with Victor.
True, but they could have brought him back a little bit later.
Sent you to a beach or something.
Why not? It was freezing in Halifax.
What do you think you would do if you were stuck in a town like this, like you personally?
I don't know. It's such a tough question, especially with who.
Yeah.
If you're stuck with your family, I'll be okay. But if you're stuck with the wrong people, I would go insane.
Yeah.
And I really don't know. Maybe go to the bar a lot.
I mean, what else are you gonna do?
Moonshine, or I don't know what they drink, like potato alcohol. Or I will be the drunk of the town.
Because what else are you going to do, right?
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, how does it end? Do you guys know how it ends? That's actually a good question.
Yes, we do know how.
We
You do?
We have since the start, and yeah.
Oh, my God.
Still do.
You still do. You haven't changed your mind.
No, we have not. Yeah, we made
Miles
promises
to go before we sleep.
That's
but
right.
Yes, they know.
Yeah.
Listen, I love this show so much. It's one that I feel like it answers enough questions, but gives you like so many more that it keeps you just completely invested. So where is it that balance that you guys find? Because you can't never answer anything.
I think finding that balance is a new adventure every day, more or less. Every day and every season, we're kind of figuring out, what the trail of breadcrumbs is going to look like, and making sure that the answers are satisfying, but like you're still hungry for the next meal. So
Good metaphor. Thanks.
I have one every once in a while.
Well, I'm curious if when they killed the monster, Smiley there, did you guys know he was going to come back? Was that always a plan, or did that kind of find itself in there later?
We knew that the monsters would live forever, which the characters now know. And so, yes, we knew. How exactly we were going to bring him back, that was a discovery.
I also, observing these guys, my partners on this show, and I think great episodic writing is very like writing a novel. And you may know you're going to ski into the trees and do a little adventure and some bumps, but you don't know exactly how many trees and where they're going to exactly be. And that's part of the beauty of writing many episodes and a season. And for us, 4, now. And it's a great creative process.
Yeah, a lot of the fun is knowing where we're going, but not knowing exactly how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, man. And these monsters are terrifying. Like, what do you think it is about these monsters that make, like, people talk about them all the time? They're scary.
I think probably because they don't look scary, but they're patient and they walk. They don't run. They seem to have all the answers. They seem to have all the time in the world, and they're creepy as shit.
Yeah.
That's one of the things that hooked me into the script, the pilot, when I was thankfully asked to join the party. And the fact that they walk slowly, and they're not the usual post-pandemic or whatever monsters that are and ready to pull your face off.
Yeah.
They're benign, they seem to be, and they wait for you to invite them in. And when John and you said, well, the monsters are really from the last, let's say, from a time before, but a time before that was more benign. And I've always been scared of milkmen. I don't know why. They were always very nice. But we started to come up with some classic Americana archetypes that could be monsters, which was pretty great.
And I've always just sort of found the creepiest things is like, there's nothing creepier than when you're walking on a desolate road that has a little bit of fog and you see that person 10 feet away that you don't know and you're like, why the fuck are they smiling at me? I hope this is not a G-rated podcast.
No, not at all.
But it's always like that, like as Jack said, it's like, it's one thing to be like, and very aggro, but it's like, that motherfucker's smiling and I don't know why, because nothing about this is smile worthy, so yeah.
Absolutely. And in this season, they just like made Boyd watch them kill someone. They didn't even attack him.
They did.
Yeah, one of the things that's been fun with the evolution of the creatures, and we talk about this all the time, is that like they're not just there to kill. They enjoy what they do. They like to play with their food. They like to, the suffering is as rewarding as the death itself.
Yeah. Well, before I let you guys go, and I'm sure you're going to say no, but is there anything you can tease about next season? Anything at all?
It's going to be fun. It's going to be scary. It's going to be our best season yet.
And it's going to be 10 episodes long.
Okay.
So there you go.
All right, there we go. All right. Well, thank you guys. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
And when it comes to a fantasy show like this, it needs to be grounded. It needs to have performances that are as authentic and as lived in.
100%.
It needs sets that are lived in. It needs snow that is real. It needs being out in the Halifax winter at 4 a.m. when it's 20 below zero. Something to move cows.
We don't recommend that.
I mean, we try as much as we can to approach the show from a standpoint of like, these people are not just in the midst of a horror movie where it's going to be over in 2 hours and they're going to escape. This is their lives. Like they're not just trying to survive; they're trying to live,
Endure.
and exactly. And so we in as much as we can, we try to approach it from a place of like, what if this really happened?
And the stakes are pretty severe, life and death, and solving what's happening, and but also making sure that you have food to eat, like the basics of survival. Harold Boyd he has to be strong. He's the sheriff of this town. In some ways, From feels like a little bit of a Western from his perspective because he's the sheriff, right? He's the lawman.
High noon all day long.
But that's when you're safest because then the creatures are out. But you also have to see the strain on him, and you get, he's not one of these stoic, I'm not allowed to cry kind of macho characters. He feels what he's feeling, partly because it's overwhelming him. But tell me about maintaining that with him. It's gonna take a toll on you as an actor to summon that volcanic emotion so frequently.
Yeah, you do. So while we have a great group of people that we can all like hang on and trust in while we're in Halifax, there's a certain amount of constant heavy that lives in Harold, like a constant heavy, so that it's accessible and available. And so it's there, but that's a really great thing that we just keep talking about, that we have this whole community of people pulling in the same direction, and so you don't feel alone. Sometimes that heavy can feel really disastrous because you feel by yourself, but we are all literally experiencing it all at the same time. And so while it's heavy and it's a little dark, and sometimes you're at a restaurant and nobody knows why you're so angry. We're all there together, and that's the odd comfort. That's a really weird, like, how do you not take your work home all the time, but take it home.
But excuse me, I just want to add one quick thing about the blessing of doing the show and being able to direct and guide and hold actors' hands who are going down this very rocky road. And it's the nuance that both these actors are able to play when they're just listening, which is when they're just alive. And I've seen it early on. And, this is the first time I've had the blessing, one more time I'll say it, to work with this exceptional actress, but I go way back with this guy. He was a 17-year-old actor on a show called Fame, and I was just starting out. But starting on this, and we've done a lot of other things together. What he can play in those pauses is so rich. And when you were listening in episode 1 to the story of what happened to Donna's sister, listening is hard, and they're exceptional.
Well, and
Now I'm
that's
gonna
really the
stop.
secret sauce that makes the show work, to be honest. Because like the shit Jack said to me at one point in season 1, he was like, "This show is ridiculous. The things that we do are ridiculous, and we're trying to make them look real." You know, and these actors that we have make them like to play these things for real is not an easy thing for an actor to do. And whether it's the two brilliant people we have here, or Scott McCord, or Ricky He, or any of these people that are taking these like crazy circumstances and making them real, and that, you know, we could write and direct our asses off, but if they're not portraying the humanity of the stories that we're trying to tell, then the show simply doesn't work. And we, you know, just to echo the blessing that Jack has talked about, like we have just, you know, we won the lottery over and over again with the cast that we have.
Jeff, you anticipated one of my questions, which was going to be to Catalina. You have these long scenes where you're on screen in this episode, but you are listening to the story, you're listening to his explanation of the paintings, and we're reading so much on your face. Sometimes he's talking and the camera's on you, or where it's almost like a reflective surface. You're absorbing what he's giving you, you're taking in what's in that basement, trying to piece it together. Can you tell me about the creation of that scene and how you approached it?
The creation of that scene. I think, you know, as Jack said, it's just purely collaboration. And what I find awesome about this job specifically is that, well, first of all, we don't have the scripts long time. Like, if you ask John Griffin what's going to happen next episode, he'll be like, great things. Like, so when you're reading something and it's a surprise for you because they haven't told you anything, it's easy to approach them. You know, it's easy to go, like, Jack, I have a question, or John and Jeff, you know, like, these guys are very approachable. And I think you know, not in a lot of jobs you can do that. And tell them what you think about why let's go this way, and maybe you're right and maybe you're wrong, but it's something that is a collaboration. You couldn't do it by yourself.
That job she has going to his house is to convince him she's telling the truth, and she is. We know that. He doesn't. She has to convince him that this is true, and it's totally insane and unbelievable. And I thought, this is just what actors do every day, right? Like, you're trying to convince people that what's not real is real. And I wondered if you had anything you could share about the thinking, the thought process you went through as you prepped for this episode, as you rehearsed, as you decided how she's going to show she's being genuine.
Well, actually, there was a conversation with John. I truly asked him, you know, why can't she just tell him the truth? And she kind of did on the episode before at church. She sounded, I think, and that's when the moment when she realized she sounded way too crazy. And the person was like, okay, crazy lady, go.
Up the meds.
So I think this was more, this was Victor's father. I think the fact that she had the lunchbox, he was going to connect, the dots, and she was not going to lie. How was she going to find the exact lunchbox from his kid? And, little drops of, her truth. I was seeing children, there was a tower, and when I couldn't say this to the person before, I couldn't say this to the priest on the previous episode because he didn't have anything connection with the lunchbox, but this guy did. And that's kind of like something that John told me. It's Victor's father, and he will figure it out. I mean, you drop little things here and there, and he will figure it out, and he did. Thank God.
And one of the challenges, starting with the writing, is if your character is going to have to convince X number of people in this episode and the prior episode, how do we together orchestrate that so there is a build and it's not just, here we go again, explaining. There's no here we go again with these actors. That's the great thing. It's always going to be a little different in the nuance, and that starts with the writing.
You mentioned the family aspect that is generated by the crew and the actors and the creative team behind the scenes. But I think in writing too, that's sort of it's a shortcut to making the audience invest in a character. You might care about their journey, that they accomplish their dream or whatever it is, but if you give that character someone else to care about, the audience sees that love they have, that affection they have, the sacrifice they make for those people or that person, your child, family member, spouse, friend. And I think we see that over and over again in this series. Is all of these people are strangers to each other. They come from different walks of life. They get on each other's case, but ultimately they care about strangers. And I wondered if you could say something about the theme that you explored here and why that resonates for the here and now. And I don't think you made it a show that's like a message thing or preaching to people to be kind to each other, but I think you've told an exciting, scary, thrilling story that's about people who we're only going to make this out of this if we hang together. Mm-hmm. So why do you think From speaks to the time we're in now?
I'd like to think maybe, I don't know what you're talking about. Things are fine now. We talk about this a lot, and we talk about what the themes of the show mean to us. And I think for me, the show has always been about family. We begin the show by following a family into this town, but it's not simply about the family you're born to, it's about the family that you find. And I think that one of the things that always struck me about the world is that people find joy no matter where they are. We here in America are very privileged, obviously, to live where we live, but people find ways not only to survive, but to live. And the idea of what would your life be like if your life were literally to become a nightmare? Mm-hmm. And when you don't have anything but each other, that's what you hold on to. I noticed in the, I say sometimes that ironically, one of the seeds for the show was 9/11 for me. Because in the aftermath of 9/11, our reality was broken. It was the first time that we kind of realized that our reality is made of paper mache, and none of this is really real. The only thing that's real is the bonds that we have with each other. And in the aftermath of that, everybody was kind to each other because they had nothing else to hold on to. Yeah. And I do think that kind of found its way into the show.
What I was thinking of specifically was what it was like in LA a couple months ago when those fires were threatening everybody every day. And suddenly people are being nicer to each other, are you okay? Do you know anybody? And it's sort of it's a shame that it takes crisis and a disaster sometimes to bring out that humanity, but it's important to remember it. And I think storytelling kind of helps us remember it.
Well, growing up here, an earthquake would make you walk outside and suddenly talk to neighbors you never talked to, because you were sharing this basic survival and care of each other, which certainly is something we're all thinking a lot about, I think, these days.
For the actors, there's this phenomenon, and I heard about it. There's an anecdote. The original Planet of the Apes movie. I think they noticed during the shooting of that the actors who played the humans during lunchtime would kind of gather and sit by themselves, and the people who played the apes would sit by themselves. And I wondered if in From at the craft services table during our time. I mean, the creatures, we didn't really see the creatures in this episode, but they're scary. They all made up like sitting by themselves, and the village people are sitting over here. What's it like? Is there, or are you all like, oh, I love that guy, that crazy guy that slits everybody's throat?
That's really interesting. Especially for the monsters, like you said, we didn't see any in this episode. They usually are sitting by themselves. It's scary. Number one, they're scary, and number two, they need extra help. You know, need those because those things that they're wearing, they can barely see. They can,
they're like 4 hours in makeup.
Yeah, like they're eating lunch through a straw. They're just, and they're scary.
A lot of smoothies on set.
Yeah. One of our first episodes, when we saw the monster, when the kid sees the monster for the first time, and he burst into tears, and he knew it was coming. And so they're frightening. They kind of sit alone. And the rest of us go.
We only take the family metaphor so far. The fucking
they're probably totally normal, and they're like, talk to me.
I mean, they can barely talk. They cannot talk. They're like, it's a mask. I mean, like they're eating through a straw. So to have lunch with them would be nice.
And then every once in a while you see one of them in the city, they're like, Harold! I'm like, hey! Like, I was on the show. It's like, where are you? Like, yeah, I was a monster. Oh! Shit! The thing, right!
Scurry away. So this is a show where people, they depart. They wrap and go away. And we saw one of the characters who's been on the show for a long time. She gets her farewell in this episode. Is there a ritual among the cast and crew of From when somebody raps?
There's a ritual beforehand where nobody will talk to them for a few weeks, and that's the sign that you're going to die. None of that is true. In this instance, Elizabeth Moy, this was one of her, if not her first acting job. And typically when somebody ends a job, they don't come to set with gifts, which she did. She was the loveliest human being, perhaps that.
Yes.
And it's really emotional. Like it's emotional when you say goodbye to a family member, and we don't take it lightly. And I think this episode really honored her, and sort of by proxy, the other characters who have suffered similar fates or will continue to suffer similar fates. And as these guys have alluded, none of our actors know anything that's happening beyond the episode that they're reading or making right now. The pulling in the same direction. A lot of people know where it's going to end or where it's going. The actors don't, and it has to be a really awful, uncomfortable, vulnerable place to be. But I think it also,
especially on this show, they're killing people left and right. Like, I don't know, maybe
Catalina.
when my phone rings and it's John, Jeff, and Jack, I know it's my time to go.
Well, it almost seemed that way, right? She gets pushed out of the window, out of the lighthouse, but she's back in the real world.
And it's a little harder too, just because the cast is like that. You know, like everybody's very like it's not the typical job, and it might have to do with the fact that we're in this town that we've created, and we're like it's. Courtien, who plays Ellis, said something year 2 when we came back, and he's like, "Oh, it's so cool. We have memories here now. You know, it's not we're going to different sets every day." So I think that that makes it a little bit different. Like when we say goodbye to a cast member, because people aren't just clocking in and out for work; they're part of a family.
And the people in the world, I guess I could say, are also like part of that. I've been running into people because I've been going around the country, and they keep going like, "I love your show, boy, better not die." And then I keep going like, "But I don't know." And they look at me cross-eyed, I'm like, "But I don't know. And so you can see the panic just in the audience.
I like how you're freaking them out in real life.
But I don't know. It's really creepy.
I think one of the things about storytelling, which these guys do so brilliantly, is you have to care about the characters. And from the beginning, my first conversation with these guys, well, Jeff and I go back, but John and I just met each other. And he was telling me the story of, I said, what the F is up with this town? And then he started on what was a very long explanation that is now just stuff that we are doing now. It went on and on and on. And at one point I said, well, listen, if I do this, my job is to make the show compelling now and to make us care about these people. And they both agreed 100%, and our modus operandi always was, it's gotta be real to these characters. So that you can watch and go, oh my God, what if that was me?
Quick anecdote. So part of the process, late in the process, is we'll sit on a mixing stage and we'll watch the episode and we'll listen to the sound and then we'll like dial it in exactly, like the background off-camera voices, the sound of a dripping faucet. And the first time that we watched this episode all the way through on the mixing stage, this has never happened to me, and I kind of hope it never happens again. The scene where Julie is trying to comfort Ethan, he says, Christy can fix her, we should take the blanket, and then Victor comes in and says, people die here, you didn't listen to me, it's gonna happen now. I was sobbing, and I had to turn to the person who just hits play and stop, and I had to ask her to stop the film while I collected myself so that we could get on with our job, because it was so real. And Ethan, the boy who plays, Simon Webster, who plays Ethan, is a spectacular actor, and his presence, he's not acting. He's just being.
Yeah.
And
He's the one who's scared of the creatures, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, he's also so smart.
Yeah.
Season 1, when we were doing 10 scenes in the RV, I won't spoil it for you guys because hopefully you're all going to watch it from the beginning now and catch up to us. But we were doing one of a myriad of scenes in this on this one set. And I get on the set and I'm going, okay, we're doing this, we're doing that, and Simon, you're down here, and this is the scene where blah, blah, blah. And he says, no, Jack, that's not that scene. And I went, what? And he said, how old was he at the time?
He was,
8. And he said, no, that's the scene that's coming up after this scene. And he went into detail, and I went, oh my God, you're right.
We're all going to be working for Simon. Well, another anecdote. There was a scene in season 2, without spoiling anything, but where Simon's sister Julie is screaming quite loud, and we were all in the back room, on the second floor of the house. And we're getting ready to roll a second take. And Simon's first take was fantastic. He looked terrified and he really played it. And we're about to roll again, and then we hear, Jack, can we take a second before the next take? And apparently the performance was absolutely authentic. Julie, Hannah, who plays Julie, had scared the daylights out of him. And this young man had the presence of mind, and it was beautiful, because he had the presence of mind to say, I'm scared, and I don't think I can do another one right now. Jack shut down the set, he went in, he talked to him, and the relationship that Jack and Simon have is just lovely to behold.
well, Jack, you anticipated another one of my questions, which was, we'll just keep going. No, I know you have secrets to keep, and this season reveals a lot of the lore that you've been promising pays off toward the end, and there's still more to reveal. But where are you on season 4? Can you just give us a status update of where you are in the process? Jack is not quite yet. We in the writer's room, we've been working for a couple of months. We're about to give Jack the first script of the season. The actors won't see anything for quite a while.
Sorry.
Neither of you die in the first episode.
That's the rare front spoiler.
Spoiler alert. Rare. Spoiler alert, you make it to season 4, episode 2.
Oh, also, one of the most adorable things, sorry, just to go back to Tia Chen for a second. Her first day on set in season 1, I went over here, we were filming by the diner, and I went over and I said, I understand that this is your first day on set with us. And she looked at me and she said, this is my first day on TV. And it was the most adorable thing I've ever seen, so yeah.
So my last question for you is a little bit of a geeky fan question, behind the scenes question. We'll either have a great answer or a boring answer, but I'm going to risk it anyway. What is the rotting fruit for real that you make the acting?
I have to just take that one. It wasn't my idea, right? But our prop master and his team are so crazy brilliant. And it sounds like we're living in Oz, and we kind of are. Halifax is as far as Oz. But nevertheless, they made muffins that look like rotting fruit. They're selling them at Erewhon now. Just go to the rotten $500. No, but that, and by the way,
If you attach Kardashian to it, they'll sell.
or Gwyneth. But I think that one of the things I love about that scene where she starts to eat the fruit, and I just said, do it again, eat more, eat more, eat more. And it's so great to work with partners who say, you know, we don't have to always do that TV pace. Okay, we get it, we saw her eat 1 or 2. We watch her eat 5 of them. And I find it riveting. You know, it sets up a whole of this path she's going down. Can I say one other thing off topic? Of course. And that is that Michael Wright over there, who runs MGM Plus, really is exceptional to work for, because he tells us when we're doing great. He also says maybe this could be better, but it's always out of appreciation and love of the show and the work we all put into it. And that's also one of the reasons I think we have this terrific show. So I just wanted to say hats off to Michael and the rest of our team over there.
So when we were pitching the show, we were confronted with some potential buyers who said, sure, tell us the ending and then maybe we'll buy your show. And our policy was no. Because if you're only investing in this show for where it's going to end, you're going to be disappointed because there's never, you know.
Not that the ending isn't cool.
But you need to be invested along the way. And Michael was and of course, as soon as Michael said, okay, let's do this, the very next thing we did was tell him the ending. And thankfully, he didn't have buyer's remorse. But that man is a champion.
And I genuinely think.
You can apply.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I genuinely think Michael Wright has ruined the rest of my career because this is my first show. It's my first time making television, and it is literally everything I always dreamed that making television would be. And it's because of the environment that he has given us and the partnership that he's given us and sort of the stewardship that he's given us. And like this show would not be this show without him as our vanguard. And so yeah, just to echo everything that my partners have said, that guy's a fucking bomb. So.